Mental hospital workers. What's the craziest thing a patient has ever done? Growing up with Sarah wasn't like what you see in movies about siblings. There were no playful arguments over the remote or sneaking into each other's rooms. Our childhood was defined by locked cabinets, hidden silverware, and the constant underlying tension that something could go terribly wrong at any moment. Sarah was diagnosed with schizophrenia when she was 16. I was 13 at the time, old enough to understand that something was different about my sister, but too young to fully grasp the weight of what our family would carry for the rest of our lives. The diagnosis came after she barricaded herself in the bathroom for 6 hours, convinced that the government had planted listening devices in the shower drain. But the incident that still makes me simultaneously want to laugh and cry happened during one of her hospitalizations when she was 22. Mom and I got the call from Riverside Psychiatric Hospital at around 3 a.m. The nurse, Linda, sounded exhausted and apologetic in equal measure. "Your daughter had an episode tonight," she said carefully. "Everyone is safe, but we thought you should know what happened." We drove to the hospital that morning expecting the usual. Maybe Sarah had refused her medication, or perhaps she'd gotten into an argument with another patient. We were not prepared for what Linda told us when we arrived. Apparently, Sarah had woken up around midnight, absolutely convinced that she was the Virgin Mary and that she was in labor with Jesus Christ. She'd been pacing her room, clutching her stomach, breathing heavily, and announcing to anyone who would listen that the Savior was coming. The night staff tried to calm her down, redirect her, offer her medication. Nothing worked. Around 2 a.m., Sarah had made her move. She walked out of her room with the determination of a woman on a mission, headed straight for the main hallway of the ward, squatted down, and began taking what Linda described as the most massive shit I've seen in 30 years of nursing. The entire time, Sarah was screaming at the top of her lungs, "Jesus! Jesus is coming! Behold the Savior! Jesus!" Other patients started emerging from their rooms, some confused, some cheering her on. One guy apparently started singing "Joy to the World." The night staff was trying to get her to stop, to move to a bathroom, to do literally anything else. But Sarah was committed to this performance. She genuinely believed she was delivering the Son of God in that hallway, and nothing was going to interrupt this sacred moment. When she finally finished, she stood up, looked down at what she'd done, and announced with complete sincerity and reverence, "He is here. Jesus has returned." Then she walked back to her room and went to sleep like nothing had happened. Linda told us this story with the kind of weary professionalism that only comes from years of working in psychiatric care. Mom cried. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. We settled on a kind of exhausted silence. But that wasn't even the worst of what living with Sarah was like. The truly terrifying part was the years before that incident, when her delusions centered on us. Sarah became convinced that our entire family were aliens wearing human skin. She believed we were part of an invasion force, and that she was the only real human left who could stop us. I was 11 when she first tried to stab me with a kitchen knife. I'd been making a sandwich after school when she came up behind me, grabbed the knife from the counter, and lunged. Dad tackled her before she could reach me. After that, every sharp object in our house disappeared. Knives stayed locked in a toolbox in the garage. Scissors were kept in Mom and Dad's bedroom in a combination safe. We ate with spoons and had to ask permission to use anything sharp, even nail clippers. For years, I slept with my door locked and a chair wedged under the handle. I loved my sister, but I was also genuinely afraid she might kill me in my sleep. Sarah is 30 now. She's on better medication and lives in a group home. We have a relationship again, though it's complicated. She doesn't remember the Jesus incident, and she feels crushing guilt about the years she spent thinking we were aliens. I still flinch sometimes when I'm holding a knife.